The alarm bells rang through the medical station. Jiwoo dropped her coffee cup and ran toward the emergency room. She was a nurse at the Galactic Medical Station, a huge floating hospital in space. The station orbited around Nexus Prime, a planet where many different alien species lived together. Jiwoo pushed through the automatic doors. Inside the emergency room, she saw chaos. Doctors and nurses stood around, but nobody was moving. They all stared at something on the examination table. Jiwoo walked closer and gasped. On the table lay a small creature. It had scales that looked like purple and blue crystals. The scales caught the light and sparkled, but they were covered in dark violet blood. The creature had small wings folded against its tiny body. Its chest moved up and down quickly. The breathing was weak and fast. The creature's eyes were closed and it made soft crying sounds that broke Jiwoo's heart. "What is that?" Jiwoo asked. Her colleague Minho answered quietly. "It's a Dravian hatchling, a baby dragon alien. The transport ship found it floating in a damaged pod near the asteroid belt." Jiwoo moved toward the table, but Director Tae Yang stepped in front of her. He was the head of the medical station. His face looked cold and hard. "Nobody touches that creature," Director Tae Yang said firmly. "It's a Dravian. They are classified as dangerous predators by the Galactic Council. We do not treat them here." Jiwoo stared at him in shock. "But it's dying, look at it." "It's just a baby." "It doesn't matter," Tae Yang replied. "The rules are clear. Dravians are too dangerous. When it grows up, it could kill people. We cannot take that risk. We will contact the Dravian embassy and let them handle it. That will take hours," Jiwoo said, her voice rising. "This baby will be dead by then." Tae Yang's expression did not change. "That is not our problem. Station protocol is clear. No treatment for Class 5 dangerous species. Everyone leave this room. We wait for the embassy." The other doctors and nurses looked uncomfortable, but they started walking toward the door. Nobody wanted to lose their job. Nobody wanted to break the rules. They all left one by one until only Jiwoo remained. "Nurse Jiwoo," Tae Yang said in a warning voice. "Leave now." "That is an order." Jiwoo looked at the dying creature on the table. Its breathing was getting weaker. The violet blood was spreading across the white sheet. The baby made another small crying sound. It sounded like a kitten in pain. Something inside Jiwoo's heart broke. She had become a nurse to help people, to save lives. She did not care what species someone was. Pain was pain. Suffering was suffering. This baby needed help and she was standing right here. "No," Jiwoo said quietly. "What did you say?" Tae Yang demanded. "I said no." Jiwoo looked at him directly. "I will not let a baby die when I can help it. You can fire me if you want, but I'm not leaving." Tae Yang's face turned red with anger. "If you touch that creature, you are finished. Your nursing career will be over. I will make sure you never work in any medical facility again." Jiwoo's hands were shaking, but she moved to the supply cabinet. "Then I guess my career is over." Director Tae Yang made an angry sound and stormed out of the room. The doors closed behind him with a loud bang. Jiwoo was alone with the dying hatchling. She took a deep breath and looked at the small creature. She had never treated a Dravian before. Nobody had. There were no medical textbooks about their biology. She would have to figure it out as she went. Jiwoo started by scanning the hatchling with the medical scanner. The results appeared on the screen, but they looked strange. The creature's heart was on the wrong side. It had 2 sets of lungs. Its blood pressure was extremely high compared to humans. The internal organs were arranged in a way she had never seen before. "Okay, little one," Jiwoo whispered to the unconscious hatchling. "Let's figure this out together." She cleaned the wounds first. The violet blood was hot, much hotter than human blood. The creature's body temperature was very high. Jiwoo worked carefully, removing pieces of metal and debris from the wounds. The hatchling had been hurt when its pod was damaged. Next came the difficult part. The hatchling was losing too much blood. Jiwoo needed to close the wounds, but regular stitches would not work on the crystalline scales. She tried 3 different methods before finding one that worked. She used a medical laser to carefully seal the edges of the torn scales. It was slow, careful work. Her back started to hurt from bending over the table. 2 hours passed. Then 3. Jiwoo's hands were tired, but she did not stop. She set up a blood circulation machine to help the hatchling's heart. She gave it oxygen through a small mask over its snout. She used cooling packs to bring down the dangerously high fever. Finally, after almost 4 hours, the hatchling's vital signs started to improve. Its breathing became stronger and more regular. The bleeding stopped. The small creature opened its eyes for just a moment. They were bright golden like tiny suns. The hatchling looked at Jiwoo and made a soft chirping sound. Then its eyes closed again, but this time it was sleeping, not unconscious. Jiwoo sat down on a chair, exhausted. Her scrubs were covered in violet blood. Her hands were cramping from the careful work. But she felt satisfied. The baby would live. The door opened suddenly. Director Tae-yang walked in with 2 security guards. His face was full of anger. "Nurse Jiwoo," he said coldly, "you have violated station protocol. You disobeyed a direct order. Your employment at this facility is terminated immediately. Security will escort you out." Jiwoo stood up slowly. She looked at the sleeping hatchling on the table, then at Tae-yang. "I understand," she said quietly, "but that baby is alive now. I would make the same choice again." "Then you are a fool," Tae-yang said. He pointed at the security guards. "Take her to collect her things. I want her off this station within the hour." The security guards stepped forward. One of them, a man named Jae-sung, looked uncomfortable. "Come on, Jiwoo," he said gently. "Let's go." Jiwoo took one last look at the small dragon creature sleeping peacefully. She had lost her job, her career, maybe her future, but that baby was breathing. That baby would live. As the security guards led her out, Jiwoo's colleagues watched from the hallway. Some looked sad. Some looked away. Nobody said anything. Nobody defended her. They all stayed silent. Jiwoo gathered her personal items from her locker. She changed out of her bloody scrubs. She took her photos and her plant from her desk. Within an hour, she was on a transport shuttle leaving the medical station. As the station grew smaller in the window, Jiwoo wondered what would happen now. She had no job. She had no references. She had broken major rules. No other medical facility would hire her. But somewhere on that station, a baby alien was alive, and Jiwoo could not regret that no matter what happened next. 3 days had passed since Jiwoo lost her job. She sat in her small apartment staring at her computer screen. The apartment was tiny, just one room with a kitchen area and a bathroom. It was all she could afford on a nurse's salary, and now even this would be difficult to keep. Jiwoo had sent job applications to 15 different medical facilities. She received 13 rejections already. The messages were all the same. They thanked her for applying, but they could not hire someone who had violated interspecies treatment protocols. Word traveled fast in the medical community. Everyone knew what she had done. Her savings account was running low. She had maybe 2 months of rent money left, maybe 3 if she was very careful. After that, she would have to return to Earth, back to her parents' house. The thought made her feel like a failure. Jiwoo's friend Hana called her yesterday. Hana tried to be supportive, but Jiwoo could hear the worry in her voice. "Maybe you could get a job doing something else," Hana suggested. "Like retail or food service?" Jiwoo had spent 8 years training to be a nurse. The idea of giving it all up made her chest feel tight. She closed her laptop and walked to the small window. Her apartment was in the lower levels of the station, where the rent was cheaper. The view showed only the gray walls of other buildings. No stars, no planets, just metal and concrete. A loud knock on the door made Jiwoo jump. The sound was so forceful that the whole door shook. Jiwoo's heart started beating fast. Nobody ever visited her. She lived alone and kept to herself. "Who is it?" Jiwoo called out nervously. There was no answer, just another massive knock that seemed to rattle the walls. Jiwoo looked through the small security screen next to her door. What she saw made her take a step back in shock. Standing in the narrow hallway was a creature that barely fit in the space. It was huge, maybe 3 meters tall. Its body was covered in scales that looked like polished black stone. The scales reflected the hallway lights like mirrors. 2 enormous wings were folded tightly against its back, pressed against the corridor walls. The creature had a long snout filled with sharp teeth, golden eyes that glowed like fire, and claws that could easily tear through metal. It was an adult Dravian. A fully grown dragon alien. Jiwoo's hands started shaking. She had never seen an adult Dravian in person before. They were rare in this part of the galaxy. The Dravian people kept to themselves in their own territory far from human space. The creature was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. The Dravian knocked again, more gently this time. Jiwoo realized it was trying not to break her door. With trembling hands, she opened the door just a crack. The golden eyes looked down at her. The creature's voice was deep and rumbling, like thunder in the distance. It spoke in a language Jiwoo did not understand. The sounds were like growls and clicks mixed together. I'm sorry, Jiwoo said, her voice barely working. I don't understand you. The Dravian reached into a small bag hanging around its neck. It pulled out a small device and pressed a button. When the creature spoke again, a mechanical voice translated the words into human language. Are you Nurse Jiwoo? The translator asked in a flat, emotionless tone. Yes, Jiwoo answered. That's me. I am Ambassador Rythan of the Dravian Sovereignty, the creature said through the translator. May I enter your dwelling? I am too large for your hallway. My wings keep hitting the walls. Jiwoo's mind was racing. An ambassador here? She stepped back and opened the door wider. Yes, please come in. The massive Dravian had to bend down to fit through the doorway. Once inside, it looked around the small apartment. The creature was so big that it made the whole room seem tiny. Rythan carefully folded its wings closer to its body and sat down on the floor, since the furniture was too small. I apologize for the surprise visit, Rythan said through the translator, but I had to meet you in person. Jiwoo sat down on her small couch. She felt like she was in a dream. Why are you here? Rythan's golden eyes seemed to glow brighter. 3 days ago, you saved my child's life. Jiwoo's breath caught in her throat. The hatchling? That was your baby? Yes, Rythan said. The translator could not show emotion, but Jiwoo could see something in the alien's eyes. Gratitude, maybe, or relief. My offspring is named Kiva. Kiva was traveling with me on a diplomatic mission when our ship was attacked by pirates. The escape pod was damaged. We searched for days, but the pod's signal was broken. We thought Kiva was lost. I'm so glad the baby is okay, Jiwoo said softly. How is Kiva doing now? Recovering well, thanks to you, Rythan replied. The Dravian medical team examined Kiva and said the treatment was excellent. You saved my child's life using techniques you invented on the spot, with no knowledge of our biology. That is remarkable. Jiwoo felt her cheeks get warm. I just did what any nurse would do. No, Rythan said firmly. The translator made the words sound flat, but there was intensity in the alien's posture. No other nurse on that station was willing to help. I have reviewed the security recordings. I saw what happened. Your director ordered everyone to leave my child to die. But you stayed. You risked everything. I lost my job, Jiwoo said, looking down at her hands. And nobody will hire me now. My nursing career is basically over. Rythan was quiet for a moment. Then the ambassador reached into the bag again and pulled out a data tablet. The alien placed it carefully on the small table in front of Jiwoo. I came here for 2 reasons, Rythan said. First, to thank you for saving my child. In Dravian culture, a life debt is sacred. You saved Kiva, which means I owe you a debt that can never truly be repaid. But I would like to try. You don't owe me anything, Jiwoo said quickly. I'm just happy your child is alive. The second reason, Rythan continued as if Jiwoo had not spoken, is to offer you a position. Jiwoo looked up in surprise. A position? Yes, Rythan said. I have spoken with the leadership of the Dravian Sovereignty. We are impressed by what you did, not just the medical skill but the courage and compassion. We would like to offer you a job as the first human medical liaison to the Dravian people. Jiwoo's mind went blank. She stared at the ambassador. What? We want you to work with us, Rythan explained. You would help establish medical cooperation between humans and Dravians. You would train our physicians in human medical techniques. You would learn our healing methods. You would help both our species understand each other better. But I'm just a nurse, Jiwoo said weakly. I'm not a diplomat or a researcher or anything special. You are exactly what we need, Rythan said. The golden eyes looked directly at her. You saw my child not as a dangerous predator, but as a patient who needed help. That is rare. Most species are afraid of us. They see only our teeth and claws, but you saw past that. You saw a baby in pain. Jiwoo picked up the data tablet with shaking hands. She looked at the screen. The job offer was there, written in both human and Dravian languages. The salary number made her eyes go wide. It was more money than she had made in 3 years as a nurse. This is too much, Jiwoo whispered. I can't accept this. Why not? Rythan asked. Because I don't deserve it, Jiwoo said. I just did what was right. Anyone would have done the same thing. But they didn't, Rythan said simply. Only you did. And that matters. Jiwoo thought about her empty job search. She thought about her rejection letters. She thought about going back to Earth with nothing to show for her years in space. Then she thought about the small hatchling on the examination table, struggling to breathe, crying in pain. "What about the Galactic Council?" Jiwoo asked. "Don't they have rules about Dravians being dangerous?" "The Galactic Council has many rules," Rythan said. The ambassador's tone suggested annoyance even through the flat translator voice. "Many of those rules are based on fear and old prejudices. Perhaps it is time for things to change. Your actions have already started conversations at the highest levels of government. The council is being forced to reconsider their classification of my people." Jiwoo looked at the tablet again. This could change everything. Not just for her, but for the relationship between humans and Dravians. It was a huge responsibility. It was terrifying, but it was also an opportunity to do something meaningful, something that mattered. "When would I start?" Jiwoo asked quietly. Rythan's mouth opened slightly, showing sharp teeth. Jiwoo realized the alien was smiling. "As soon as you are ready. Take some time to think about it. I will return tomorrow for your answer." The ambassador stood up carefully, making sure not to hit the ceiling with its head. Rythan walked to the door, then paused and looked back. "Thank you again, Jiwoo," Rythan said. "You gave me back my child. I can never repay that debt, but I will spend my life trying." After the ambassador left, Jiwoo sat in her quiet apartment holding the tablet. Outside her window, the gray walls looked the same as always, but somehow everything felt different. Jiwoo stood in front of the massive ship that would take her to Dravian space. The vessel was unlike any human spacecraft she had ever seen. Instead of the clean white metal of human ships, this one was made of dark material that looked almost alive. The surface seemed to shimmer and change color in the light. Strange symbols covered the hull in patterns that hurt her eyes if she looked too long. She held a small bag with her belongings. Everything she owned fit in one bag. It seemed strange to start a whole new life with so little. "Are you ready?" Ambassador Rythan asked. The translator device hung around the ambassador's neck as always. Jiwoo took a deep breath. "I think so. I'm nervous. That is normal," Rythan said. The golden eyes looked kind despite their fierce appearance. "Change is always frightening. But Kiva is excited to see you again. My child talks about you constantly." That made Jiwoo smile. She had accepted the position 2 days after Rythan's visit. There was nothing keeping her on the station anymore. No job, no friends except Hana, no future. This was a chance to start over. The inside of the ship was even stranger than the outside. The corridors were tall and wide to fit Dravian bodies. Everything was built on a larger scale. Jiwoo felt like a child walking through a world made for giants. The walls glowed with soft blue light that came from somewhere inside the material itself. They walked through several corridors until they reached a large room. Inside, Jiwoo saw other Dravians for the first time. There were 5 of them, each one massive and impressive. Their scales were different colors, black like Rythan, but also deep red, green, silver, and golden brown. All of them had those bright golden eyes, and there in the center of the room was the small hatchling she had saved. Kieva was much more active now. The little dragon was running in circles, playing with something that looked like a ball made of light. When Kieva saw Jiwoo, the hatchling made a happy chirping sound and ran toward her. The small creature was about the size of a large dog, with purple and blue scales that sparkled like gems. Kieva stopped in front of Jiwoo and made more chirping sounds. The little dragon bumped its head gently against Jiwoo's leg like a cat asking for attention. Jiwoo felt tears in her eyes. She knelt down and carefully touched Kieva's head. The scales were warm and smooth. "Hello again, little one. You look so much better." Kieva responded by licking Jiwoo's hand with a warm, rough tongue. The hatchling's tail wagged back and forth like an excited puppy. Rythan made a sound that might have been laughter. "Kieva has adopted you. In our culture, that is a great honor." The other Dravians approached. One by one, they introduced themselves through translator devices. There was Elder Talvin, who was in charge of Dravian medical research. General Korseth, who protected their borders. Council member Nimara, who handled diplomatic relations. Scholar Vexril, who studied other species. And Chief Physician Draken, who would work closely with Jiwoo. "Welcome to our mission, Jiwoo," Elder Talvin said. The elderly Dravian had more scars than the others, and some scales were gray with age. "We have much to learn from each other." "I hope I can help," Jiwoo said honestly. "But I should tell you I'm just one nurse. I don't know if I can do everything you're expecting." "You have already done the impossible," Draken said. The physician's scales were deep red. "You saved a Dravian life with no training, no references, no help. If you can do that, you can do anything." The ship began to move. Jiwoo felt the slight vibration under her feet as they left the station. Through a large window, she watched the medical station grow smaller and smaller. Somewhere in that station, Director Tae-yang was probably happy she was gone. Her former colleagues were probably relieved they did not have to work with someone who broke the rules. But Jiwoo did not feel sad. She felt excited. Nervous, yes, but also full of hope. The journey to Dravian space took 3 days. During that time, Jiwoo spent hours with Draken learning about Dravian biology. It was complicated and fascinating. Dravians had redundant organs, which meant they had backup systems for almost everything. Their hearts could stop for up to 10 minutes and they would survive using a secondary circulatory system. Their bones were flexible and incredibly strong. Their blood could clot in seconds. Evolution made us this way, Draken explained. Our homeworld is harsh. Only the strongest survive. So our bodies adapted to handle extreme damage. Jiwoo took notes on her computer, trying to learn everything. What about diseases? What makes Dravians sick? Very little, Draken admitted. Our immune systems are powerful, but we have trouble with small injuries. Paper cuts can become infected quickly because our bodies are designed to handle big trauma, not small wounds. It is strange, yes? They also discussed human medicine. Draken was amazed by human surgical techniques, by antibiotics, by vaccines. You humans are so fragile, the physician said. But you have created such clever ways to protect yourselves. It is impressive. Kieva followed Jiwoo everywhere during those 3 days. The small hatchling became her constant companion. Kieva would curl up next to Jiwoo when she slept, keeping her warm with body heat. The little dragon would bring Jiwoo pieces of food during meals, trying to share. It was adorable. Kieva has imprinted on you, Rai then explained on the second day. You were the first face my child saw after almost dying. In Dravian psychology, that creates a strong bond. Kiev sees you as family now. Is that okay? Jiwoo asked, worried. I don't want to cause problems. It is more than okay, Rai then said warmly. It is wonderful. You have given my child not just life, but also a connection to another species. That is rare and precious. On the 3rd day, they arrived at Dracon, the Dravian homeworld. Jiwoo pressed her face against the window to look at the planet. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The world was covered in tall mountains that reached into the clouds. Volcanoes dotted the landscape, glowing red and orange. The oceans were dark and stormy. Everything looked wild and dangerous. It looks intense, Jiwoo said. It is home, Rai then said simply. The ship landed at the capital city, which was built into the side of a massive mountain. The buildings were carved from black stone and decorated with crystals that caught the light. Everything was huge and grand. Jiwoo felt very small. They took Jiwoo to her new quarters, which were in the medical complex. The room had been modified for a human. There was furniture her size, a bathroom that worked for human needs, and a bed that was not too large. Someone had even put some plants in the room to make it feel more comfortable. We hope this is acceptable, Draken said. We tried to make it comfortable for you. It's perfect, Jiwoo said, looking around. Thank you so much. Rest tonight, Draken suggested. Tomorrow we begin your real work. The Dravian Royal Medical Council wants to meet you. We have prepared a laboratory where you can do research, and we have several physicians who are excited to learn from you. After everyone left, Jiwoo sat on her new bed. Kiva curled up next to her, already falling asleep. Through the window, she could see the Dravian capital city lit up with crystal lights. Strange flying creatures moved through the sky, their wings catching the light from the 2 moons above. Jiwoo thought about everything that had happened. 1 week ago, she was unemployed and hopeless. Now she was on an alien planet, working with dragon people, starting a job that could change the relationship between 2 species. She thought about Director Tae-yang and his cold voice when he fired her. She thought about her former colleagues who had walked away from the dying hatchling. They had followed the rules. They had protected their careers. They had done what was safe, but Jiwoo had done what was right. And somehow doing the right thing had brought her here. She gently petted Kieva's warm head. The little dragon made a contented sound in its sleep. Outside, one of the volcanoes erupted in the distance, painting the sky with red and gold light. This is going to be an adventure, Jiwoo whispered to herself. Kieva chirped softly in agreement, even while sleeping. The next morning, Jiwoo woke up early. She was too excited and nervous to sleep. She put on the medical uniform that had been provided for her. It was white with blue markings. similar to human medical uniforms but adjusted for Dravian aesthetics. Draken arrived to escort her to the Royal Medical Council. They walked through corridors filled with Dravians going about their daily business. Some stopped to stare at Jiwoo. She was the first human most of them had ever seen in person. Some looked curious. Some looked suspicious. A few smiled, or at least made the Dravian expression that was similar to a smile. The council chamber was enormous. 12 elderly Dravians sat on elevated platforms looking down at Jiwoo. Their scales were all gray with age and their eyes held ancient wisdom. The council leader spoke in the Dravian language. A translator device on the wall converted the words to human language. "Welcome, Jiwoo of Earth, we have heard much about you. You saved the child of our ambassador. You risked your career to help one of our people. This shows great character." "Thank you," Jiwoo said, trying not to let her voice shake. "I'm honored to be here." "We have a proposal," the council leader continued. "We want you to establish a medical exchange program between our people and yours. You will train our physicians in human techniques. Our physicians will teach you Dravian medicine. Together, perhaps we can create something new." So 6 months had passed since Jiwoo arrived on the Dravian homeworld. She stood in front of a mixed class of physicians, both Dravian and human. This would have been impossible half a year ago, but things were changing fast. "Today we're going to talk about treating burns," Jiwoo said to the class. She used a pointer to indicate diagrams on the screen behind her. Human skin and Dravian scales react differently to heat damage, but the principles are similar. The students took notes. There were 5 Dravian physicians and 3 human ones. The humans had arrived 2 months ago, volunteers who wanted to be part of this historic exchange program. One of them was Hyunwoo, a surgeon who had read about Jiwoo's work and wanted to join. Hyunwoo raised his hand. "How do we handle the temperature difference? Dravian body temperature is much higher than human normal." "Good question," Jiwoo said. "We use modified cooling techniques. Let me show you." After the class ended, Hyunwoo stayed behind. He was a tall man with kind eyes and a quick smile. "That was excellent. You're a natural teacher." "Thanks," Jiwoo said, organizing her notes. "I never thought I would be teaching, but it's actually fun. I heard from Elder Talavin that the medical council is impressed with your progress," Hyunwoo said. "They want to expand the program. More exchange students, more research projects." Jiwoo felt pride warm her chest. The work had been hard, but it was paying off. She and Draken had published 3 research papers together. They had developed new treatment protocols that worked for multiple species. They had even created a hybrid surgical technique that combined human precision with Dravian regenerative methods. But the best part was seeing attitudes change. 6 months ago, most people in the galaxy thought Dravians were dangerous monsters. Now, thanks to the exchange program, people were learning the truth. Dravians were intelligent, caring, and sophisticated. They had art, music, poetry, and philosophy. They valued family and honor. They were just different, not dangerous. Kiva burst into the classroom, running on all 4 legs. The young dragon was bigger now, about the size of a large pony. The purple and blue scales had deepened in color and shone brilliantly. Kiva could speak a little bit now using a junior translator device. "Jiwoo, Jiwoo," Kiva said through the translator, the mechanical voice making the young dragon sound funny. "Come see. Father has news." "What kind of news?" Jiwoo asked, smiling at Kiva's excitement. "Big news. Important news. Come now." Kiva grabbed Jiwoo's sleeve gently with its teeth and tugged. Jiwoo laughed. Okay, I'm coming." She followed Kiva through the medical complex. Hyunwoo came along, curious about the news. They found Ambassador Rythan in the communication center, talking with someone on a large screen. On the screen was a human woman that Jiwoo recognized. It was Dr. Bora, the chief of medicine at Central Station, one of the largest hospitals in human space. Bora had been very vocal against the Dravian exchange program at first. She had written articles about how dangerous it was to work with predator species. She had called Jiwoo reckless and foolish. But Bora's expression now was different. She looked excited and grateful. "Jiwoo," Bora said when she saw her, "I need to thank you. Your research saved my patient's life yesterday." Jiwoo was confused. "What happened?" Bora explained. "I had a patient with severe burns covering 60% of his body. Traditional treatment was failing. But then I remembered reading your paper about hybrid burn treatment protocols. I tried your technique. the one that combines human antibiotics with Dravian regenerative therapy. It worked. The patient is recovering. Jiwoo felt stunned. I'm so glad it helped. It did more than help, Bora said seriously. I was wrong about you, Jiwoo. I was wrong about the Dravians. I let fear and prejudice cloud my judgment. I should have trusted your compassion instead of following outdated rules. I apologize. Thank you for saying that, Jiwoo said softly. I want to join the exchange program, Bora continued, if you'll have me. I want to learn from you and from the Dravian physicians. I want to help build bridges instead of walls. Rythan spoke up. We would be honored to have you, Dr. Bora. Your experience and expertise would be valuable to our program. After the call ended, Rythan turned to Jiwoo. That is not the only news. The Galactic Medical Council has announced that they are reviewing all protocols regarding Dravians. Several council members have cited your work as evidence that the old classifications were wrong. Jiwoo felt dizzy with the news. Really? Yes, Rythan said. The ambassador's golden eyes glowed with emotion. You are changing minds across the galaxy, Jiwoo. One patient at a time, one paper at a time, one student at a time. That evening, Jiwoo received a message on her personal computer. It was from her old friend Hana, who still worked at the medical station where Jiwoo had been fired. You won't believe what happened, Hana wrote. Director Taeyang is being investigated. Apparently, you weren't the first person he fired for helping the wrong species. There were others. He's been breaking medical ethics rules for years. The Galactic Medical Board is reviewing all his decisions. They're talking about revoking his medical license. Jiwoo read the message twice. She did not feel happy about Taeyang's troubles. She felt sad that someone so talented had let fear and prejudice control him. But maybe this would help him learn and grow. The next day brought more changes. 3 more human physicians arrived to join the program. One of them was a woman named Mi Young, who specialized in pediatric care. She brought her daughter with her, a small girl named Yuna who was fascinated by Kieva. Can I touch the dragon? Yuna asked shyly. Of course, Kieva said through the translator. The young dragon lowered its head so Yuna could pet the shiny scales. I like children. We can be friends, Yuna giggled with delight. Jiwoo watched Mi Young's face change from nervous to relaxed. She was seeing that Dravians were not monsters to fear, but people to know. Over the next few weeks, the program continued to grow. More students arrived from different species, not just humans and Dravians. There were amphibian people from the water worlds. There were insect-like beings from the hive colonies. There were crystalline entities that barely had bodies at all. Jiwoo found herself coordinating a truly galactic medical initiative. It was overwhelming and exciting at the same time. She worked 16-hour days, but she did not mind. This was what she had always dreamed of, using medicine to bring people together. One afternoon, Draken invited Jiwoo to observe a surgery. A Dravian warrior had been injured in an accident, and the damage was severe. Draken wanted to try the hybrid technique they had developed together. The surgery took 4 hours. Jiwoo assisted, her small human hands working alongside Draken's large clawed ones. The patient's scales had been torn away, exposing vulnerable flesh beneath. Using traditional Dravian methods alone, the healing would take months and leave terrible scars. But with the hybrid technique, they carefully applied human synthetic skin grafts modified to work with Dravian biology. They used Dravian regenerative stimulants to accelerate healing. They combined human precision tools with Dravian energy-based surgery. When they finished, Draken looked at the results with satisfaction. This is beautiful. The healing will be faster and cleaner than anything we could have done before. We made it together, Jiwoo said. Human and Dravian knowledge combined. That is the future, Draken agreed. A week later, Ambassador Rythan called Jiwoo to an important meeting. The Galactic Council was holding a special session about interspecies medical cooperation. They wanted Jiwoo to present her work. I'm nervous, Jiwoo admitted. The Galactic Council is made up of powerful leaders. What if they don't listen? They will listen, Rythan assured her. You have results that speak for themselves. Patients healed. Lives saved. Species working together. That is stronger than any speech. The presentation took place via hologram, since traveling to the council chambers would take weeks. Jiwoo stood in a communication room on the Dravian homeworld, while her image appeared before the council members light years away. She showed them the data. Recovery rates that were 20% better using hybrid techniques. treatment costs that were 30% lower, patient satisfaction scores that were the highest ever recorded, and most importantly, relationships between species that were improving every day. This is more than medicine, Jiwoo said at the end of her presentation. This is proof that we are stronger together than we are apart. When I treated that Dravian hatchling 6 months ago, I did not think about rules or protocols. I thought about a baby in pain. That simple act of compassion has led to all of this. Imagine what we could achieve if we approach all interspecies relations with the same openness. The council members asked many questions. Some were skeptical, some were supportive, but all of them were listening. That was what mattered. After the presentation, Jiwoo felt exhausted but satisfied. Kava was waiting for her outside the communication room. "You did good," Kava said. The young dragon's translator was better now, making speech sound more natural. "I am proud of you." "Thank you, little one," Jiwoo said, hugging Kiva's neck. The scales were warm against her cheek. "I am not so little anymore," Kiva protested. "I am medium-sized now," Jiwoo laughed. "You're—" 1 year had passed since Jiwoo saved a dying Dravian hatchling. Now she stood in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Unity Center, surrounded by representatives from hundreds of different species. The hall was enormous, with a ceiling that seemed to stretch into infinity. Each species had their own seating area designed for their unique bodies. Jiwoo wore a formal dress, something she rarely did. She felt uncomfortable and out of place. All around her were ambassadors, council members, generals, and leaders. Important people. She was just a nurse who had done her job. "Stop fidgeting," Hyunwoo whispered beside her. He had come to support her, along with several other members of their medical team. "You deserve this." "I just saved one baby," Jiwoo whispered back. "That's all I did." "That's where you're wrong," said Dr. Bora, who sat on her other side. "You did so much more than that." The ceremony began. A tall crystalline being stepped onto the central platform. This was Chancellor Vexthal, the leader of the Galactic Unity Assembly. When the Chancellor spoke, the words were automatically translated into every language in the hall. "Today we honor individuals who have made significant contributions to galactic peace and cooperation," Chancellor Vexthal said. "The Compassion Star is our highest civilian award. It is given to those who show exceptional kindness, courage, and dedication to helping others across species boundaries." Jiwoo listened as other awards were given. A merchant who had created fair trade agreements. A scientist who had developed clean water technology. A teacher who had started schools in refugee camps. These people had done amazing things. Jiwoo felt even more out of place. Then Chancellor Vexthal called her name. "Jiwoo of Earth, please come forward." Her legs felt weak, but Jiwoo stood up and walked to the platform. The walk seemed to take forever. She was aware of thousands of eyes watching her. Some of those eyes were human. Many were not. Ambassador Rythan stepped onto the platform as well. The massive Dravian moved gracefully despite being so large. Rythan carried a beautiful medal made of metal that seemed to glow with internal light. 1 year ago, Rythan said to the assembly, "This human woman saved my child's life. She broke rules to do so. She lost her job. She risked her future. But she did it anyway because it was the right thing to do. That one act of compassion has created ripples across the galaxy." The Chancellor spoke again. "Because of Nurse Jiwoo's actions, we now have the Interspecies Medical Exchange Program. Over 300 physicians from 40 different species have participated. They have developed new treatments that work across species lines. They have saved countless lives. They have proven that we are stronger together than apart." Rythan stepped forward and placed the medal around Jiwoo's neck. It was heavier than she expected. The ambassador's golden eyes met hers, and Jiwoo saw deep emotion there. "Thank you," Rythan said quietly. "Just for her. For everything." The assembly hall erupted in applause. But it was not just the sound of hands clapping. There were species who whistled, others who stamped their feet, some who made clicking sounds with their mouths. It was a symphony of different ways to show appreciation. Jiwoo felt tears in her eyes. She tried to blink them away, but they kept coming. She was not crying from sadness. She was crying because she felt overwhelmed by the kindness of so many different people. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Jiwoo tried to avoid it, but Hyunwoo insisted she attend. "You need to let people thank you," he said. The reception hall was filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Many of them wanted to meet Jiwoo. Some wanted to thank her personally. Others wanted to talk about joining the medical exchange program. A human man approached her. He looked familiar, but Jiwoo could not place him at first. Then she recognized him. It was Jae-sung, one of the security guards who had escorted her out of the medical station when she was fired. "Nurse Jiwoo," Jae-sung said. He looked nervous. "I don't know if you remember me." "I remember," Jiwoo said carefully. "I wanted to apologize," Jae-sung said. "I should have stood up for you that day. I should have told Director Tae Yang he was wrong. But I was afraid of losing my job. I was a coward." "You were following orders," Jiwoo said gently. "Following orders is not always the same as doing what's right," Jae-sung replied. "You taught me that. I quit my security job. I'm training to be a medical technician now. I want to be part of the program you started." Jiwoo felt her throat get tight with emotion. "I'm proud of you for making that choice." Later in the evening, Jiwoo found a quiet corner to rest. The social interaction was exhausting. She was not used to so much attention. She preferred being in a medical bay helping patients. A message appeared on her communication device. It was from her assistant, a young Dravian named Dayun. Dayun had been working with Jiwoo for 3 months and was incredibly organized and efficient. "Important news," the message read. "The Aquarian Collective has officially requested human medical cooperation. They want to send physicians to study with us. This is the first time they have asked for outside help in their entire history." Jiwoo read the message 3 times. The Aquarians were a very private species. They lived in deep ocean worlds and rarely interacted with other people. For them to request cooperation was huge. She showed the message to Hyunwoo. "This is amazing," he said. "Your work is spreading further than you realize." "It's not just my work," Jiwoo protested. "It's everyone's work. Draken, you, Bora, all the students, everyone." "But you started it," Hyunwoo said firmly. "You were the first one to break through the fear." That took courage. That night, Jiwoo returned to her quarters on the Dravian homeworld. She had kept her rooms there even though she now traveled frequently to other planets. This place felt like home. Kieva was waiting for her. The young dragon had grown significantly over the year. Kieva was now the size of a small horse with magnificent scales that seemed to hold all the colors of the rainbow. The dragon could fly now, and spoke clearly without needing a translator device for most conversations. "Congratulations on your award," Kieva said, nuzzling Jiwoo affectionately. "I watched the ceremony on the broadcast. I wanted to be there, but Father said I should stay here and not cause trouble." "You're never trouble," Jiwoo said, hugging the dragon's neck. The scales were warm and comforting. "I made you something," Kieva said shyly. The dragon reached behind a pillow and pulled out a piece of fabric. It was a banner with drawings on it. The drawings were simple, done in the style a child might use. They showed Jiwoo and Kieva together, surrounded by hearts and stars. "It's beautiful," Jiwoo said, feeling tears come to her eyes again. "Thank you so much." "You saved my life," Kieva said seriously. "And you became my family. That is worth more than any medal." Jiwoo hung the banner on her wall, right next to several other drawings Kieva had made over the year. These pieces of art were more precious to her than any award. Over the next few weeks, more requests came in from different species wanting to join the medical exchange program. The program had to expand rapidly to handle all the interest. They hired more teachers, built more training facilities, and developed more research projects. Hyunwoo was put in charge of a new teaching hospital that would specifically focus on interspecies medicine. Bora became the director of the research division. Dayun was promoted to program coordinator, managing the schedules and logistics of hundreds of students and physicians. And Jiwoo, she went back to what she loved most, working with patients. She split her time between teaching and treating patients in the medical bay. She worked with humans, Dravians, Aquarians, and many other species. Each patient was different. Each one taught her something new. One day, she was treating a sick Aquarian child who had respiratory problems. The child's parents were terrified because Aquarian physicians did not understand the illness. But Jiwoo recognized it as similar to asthma in humans. She adapted human treatment methods for the Aquarian biology, and the child recovered. The parents were so grateful that they cried. In Aquarian culture, tears were sacred. They only cried for the most important moments. "You gave us back our child," the father said. "We can never repay you." Jiwoo thought about Ambassador Rythan saying almost exactly the same words a year ago. She smiled and said, "Just help others when you can. That's payment enough." 3 months after the award ceremony, Jiwoo received a message that made her laugh out loud. It was from the Galactic Medical Council. They wanted to offer her a position on the council itself. "They want me to help make medical policy for the entire galaxy," Jiwoo told Kiva that evening. "Can you believe it?" "Yes," Kiva said simply. "Everyone else believes it." "Why don't you?" "Because I'm just a nurse," Jiwoo said. "I'm not a politician or a leader." "You're exactly what a leader should be," Kiva replied with the wisdom that sometimes came from young people. "You care about helping others more than yourself. You do what's right even when it's hard. That's what makes a good leader." Jiwoo thought about the offer for several days. Finally, she accepted, but with conditions. She would serve on the council part-time. The rest of her time, she wanted to keep working with patients. She wanted to keep teaching. She wanted to stay connected to the real work of medicine, not just policy. The council agreed to her terms.